Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome to Science Lab. The signs are happening because Jesus is coming. Every day, we are looking at some of the signs that are happening around us. In this episode, we are going to see the signs in Israel. Russia and US back Israel's right to strike Iran in Iraq. And Australia joins the US-UK mission in the Persian Gulf to protect shipping from Iran.
Recent mysterious explosions taking place at Iraqi bases are the result of a green light being given by the United States and Russia for Israel to expand its area of operations. The London-based Ashaq Al-Awsat reported on August 21, 2019, citing Western sources.
The latest Iraqi explosion came overnight on Tuesday when an arms depot 50 miles north of Baghdad, Iraq's capital, was hit. The base belongs to the Popular Mobilization Forces, a conglomeration of militias that mostly answer to Iran but are now part of the official Iraqi security establishment.
The target was missiles that had been recently transferred to Iraq from Iran. Sky News Arabia reported that at least 50 missiles were destroyed in the strike. According to the Middle East Center for Reporting and Analysis, August 20, 2019's attack was the fourth explosion at an Iranian-linked site in the past month.
While Israel has not taken credit for the attack, most analysts believe it is only a viable candidate. As we have previously noted, Iran has entrenched itself inside Iraq through the use of its Shia militias. These militias have now formed a fifth column inside Iraq, similar to how Iran uses Hezbollah in Lebanon. On August 20, 2019, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu hinted at Israel's role in the strikes, saying that Iran has no immunity anywhere. The Israeli strikes reveal a stunning reality in the Middle East. Iraq has fallen to Iran. The Baghdad government is powerless to stop it. If you don't have the power to stop Iran from using you as a base to launch missiles at Israel, then Israel will strike. According to the Ashaq Al-Awsat report, both the US and Russian government understand that and have given Israel the green light to attack. This permission reveals that there are giant cracks in the Russian-Iran relationship. Biblical prophecy provides insight into how the future will unfold in Syria and Iraq. In the case of Syria and Russian intervention, Bible prophecy indicates that Iran will lose the control that it has now. But in Iraq, where Israel has now expanded its area of attack, there will be no such drawdown in Iranian power. Going forward, watch for Iran to cement its control over Iran and watch the current government in Baghdad become increasingly weaker. It's like that eventually pro-Iranian element will get control of the Iraqi government as well, just like Hezbollah has gone inside Lebanon. On August 21, 2019, Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison announced that Australia would send 200 servicemen, a Navy frigate, a maritime patrol aircraft, and planning and operations personnel to the region. Currently, the malfunctional force is made up of the United States, United Kingdom, Australia, and Bahrain, with Israel providing some intelligence support. The mission, Operation Sentinel, is designed to limit Iran's ability to stop international shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow passageway that leads from the Persian Gulf to the Indian Ocean. In recent months, Iran has successfully impounded a British-flagged vessel and made several other unsuccessful attempts. The fact that Australia has joined the mission is unsurprising, given its shipping is under threat. However, there is nothing interesting connection between these nations.
The US, Britain, Australia, and the State of Israel in the Middle East are all descendants of ancient Israel. The resurgent ties these nations are experiencing highlights the close brotherly bond that is rooted in biblical history.
The US is currently experiencing a prophesied resurgence. The other nations of Israel are each experiencing the trickle-down effect of America's resurgence. This mission in the Strait of Hormuz is another sign of the familiar bond that these nations share.
And now it's time for the trivial question of the day. Who or what is Shin Bet?
Options are Option A, a fictional mariner. Option B, the Israel Security Agency. Option C, the Arab Security Agency.
The answer after a short break. Welcome back to Science Lab. The signs are happening because Jesus is coming. Before the break, I asked you the trivial question of the day. Who or what is Shin Bet?
Option A, a fictional mariner. Option B, the Israel Security Agency. Option C, the Arab Security Agency.
The right answer is option B, the Israel Security Agency. Israel's Shin Bet Security Service has foiled an estimated 300 Hamas-ordered terrorist attacks since January 2019. A rapid succession of attacks earlier August 2019 illuminates Hamas' fanatic devotion to incite conflict, wrest control from the Palestinian Authority, and raise the banner of Allah over all Israel.
Over the weekend, at least 4 rockets were fired from Gaza at southern Israel. The Iron Dome missile defense system targeted and intercepted 3 of the 4 rockets. Following the attacks on Saturday night, the Israel Defense Forces identified an attempted ground infiltration from the Gaza security fence. Israeli troops arrived and thwarted the invasion.
On August 10, 2019, the Israeli military said that it thwarted a large nation terror attack as 4 Gazan terrorists armed with automatic rifles, bolt cutters, hand grenades, hunting knives, and rocket-propelled grenades attempted to infiltrate Israel from Gaza Strip. According to the military statement, the 4 Palestinians were killed when the IDF opened fire once. One of the terrorists scaled the fence, adding that the grenade was thrown at the troops in the exchange. The IDF later released photos of the seized military equipment. The 19-year-old Sorek has just begun his recruitment but had not yet served in the defense force. He was also a student finishing his religious studies at a yeshiva in a nearby town. Though no Palestinian group has claimed responsibility for the attack, the Palestinian Islamic Jihad terrorist group called the attack heroic and sending an important message. Hamas spokesperson Hamad El-Rakab told Al Monitor, "We do not know who in Hamas carried out the attack, but we praise it and we appreciate any armed attack against the thief of our land." Israeli Minister of Foreign Affairs said, "The recent series of attacks against Israel is the direct result of incitement by radical Islamists and terrorist elements, calling on Palestinian youth to murder Jews." According to Al Monitor, on August 6, 2019, Israel announced that it had foiled a bombing attempt that a Hamas cell was planning to execute in Jerusalem. Shin Bet announced that the terrorist cell was working out of Hebron, a Palestinian city in the West Bank and 80 miles south of the Holy City. The members had manufactured a 3-kilogram explosive device retrofitted with dozens of metal pieces to cause maximum damage. Hamas terrorists are creating sparks in a region ready to combust. It is only a matter of time until an attack ignites the region into conflict.
Hamas is looking to take advantage of weak leadership in the West Bank. Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas is 83 years old and unwell. He is frequently admitted into the hospital, and many believe he may soon be forced to step down. What happens after Abbas is a question that may pave the way for political chaos if a clear successor is not selected.
Ynet News said that armed groups located in the West Bank are comprised of refugees from the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigades, the military wing of Fatah during the Second Intifada, and are supposed to provide the candidates with firing powers in the event that the impending succession war will involve violence and the use of weapons.
When Hamas won the Gaza election in 2005, Abbas and his Fatah party refused to leave. Violence erupted throughout Gaza. After 2 years of civil war, Hamas managed to wrestle control to the Gaza Strip from Abbas, forcing him to retreat to the West Bank. Hamas proved his ability to succeed in conflict in Gaza, and even since, it has been working to secretly invade the West Bank. According to an August 14, 2019 report by Israel Hayom, a senior Palestinian Authority security official said Aurori gets military aid and economic support from the regime in Tehran and is rigorously working to rehabilitate Hamas terrorist cell in the West Bank while exploiting the Palestinian Authority's diplomatic standstill and the fact that the leadership in Ramallah has reduced to a minimum its security cooperation with Israel. Hamas, which is now receiving $30 million a month in funding from Iran, has established secret operations called sleeper cells throughout the Western Bank. These operatives go about their daily lives until they receive a notice that it's time to launch a revolution. However, Hamas' fervor for contest extends far beyond the West Bank. For Hamas, the West Bank is a stepping stone to its ultimate goal. The Hamas covenant outlines the call to raise the banner of Allah over every inch of Palestine. Hamas' ultimate goal is to obliterate Israel and overrun Jerusalem. Such an event would likely motivate many moderate Arabs in East Jerusalem to turn radical. Control of the West Bank, which borders East Jerusalem, is a crucial step for Hamas to control Jerusalem. If a succession of war breaks out in the West Bank and Hamas sleeper cells are activated, it will be hard for the Israeli force to quell the violence, especially if the population supports the Hamas takeover. Bible prophecy indicates that Hamas will gain control of the West Bank, after which East Jerusalem will be its next target.
Notice a prophecy in Zechariah chapter 14 verse 2, "For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city."
Notice how specific this prophecy is. East Jerusalem, one half of the city, will be conquered by Palestinians. Iran and Hamas goals both align with this end-time prophecy.
However, Hamas and Iran's half victory will be short-lived. This crisis triggers the second coming of Jesus Christ. Then shall the Lord go forth and fight against those nations, as when he fought in the day of battle. And his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on the east. When he comes, he will be king over all the earth, and there shall no more utter destruction, but Jerusalem shall be safely inhabited.
Israel is a timepiece we should watch out for in these last days. By looking at what's happening in and around Israel, we will know at what time we are in. All this shows that we are living in the crucial hour in the last days.
What is foretold in the Bible is happening again in our lifetime. The budding of the fig tree, that is the nation of Israel, shows that we are living in the last days. Lord Jesus Christ is coming again very soon. Thank you for watching this episode. Don't forget to tune into Science Lab next time.
Send us photos, videos, news, and YouTube links which are worth sharing. You can also send your feedbacks to our email address sciencelab@angeltv.org. Suppose if you have missed any of the episodes, don't worry, you can watch it again and again in our Science Lab YouTube page. But don't forget to like, share, and comment on the video.
Ask your friends and relatives to watch the Science Lab so that they will know that we are living in the last days. Remember, signs are happening because Lord Jesus is coming. Maranatha.